So, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Alan Perez. I work with the media and content team here at Set Schedule, and I'd like to welcome you back to another episode of Set Schedule's Meet the Agent. Today joining me is Mehrooz Misaghian, an expert realtor out in the greater Las Vegas area, specifically servicing the Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, and Henderson markets. How are you doing today, Mehrooz?
Good, thanks for asking, and thank you for having me on the show.
Of course, we're very excited to have you join us for today. And so in today's discussion, what I really want to focus in on is the way that you generate business, the aspects and the approaches that you take. One thing that right off the bat, I'm sure a lot of our viewers and listeners will be able to tell is that you do have kind of a different setup than most of the agents that join us. Can you elaborate a little bit more on where you're joining us from?
Yeah. Do you want me to be brief, or you want me to go in detail?
It depends on whatever it is that you're comfortable sharing with us. I, for one, am very much a tech enthusiast, and so when I see what you have going on there, I get excited. But whatever you're open to sharing.
All right. So, besides being a realtor, in the last 5 years, I was insurance agent, mainly focused on the financial side of it, like retirement, all different type of basically money placement and growth on your money and all that. Currently, I'm at our office, or pretty much my insurance agency office, and we just opened it up right before the end of April of this year, and I purposely dedicate one room to our media room because we do a lot of video marketing, and also I do have our own podcast, and we're shooting all the videos through here. So
fantastic.
It's basically kind of like a treated for sound, so hopefully the sound is proper.
Yeah, fantastic. And so, that does, I guess, kind of kick off my first question, which is, as you mentioned, you've been in real estate for the last 5 years, is that right?
As a licensed realtor, yes, but I've been involved in real estate since 2010. So that makes it 11 years. I bought, I've sold, I've managed, I've been landlord. Matter of fact, my very last property that I had as a rental is under contract, and hopefully everything goes well. I'm going to sell that, and maybe I'm going to just, in my personal side, I'm going to mainly focus on fix and flip. Properties that we do know have some issues, or they're just old and the owner is not willing to put the money into it to renovate it and all that. So we buy it at the market value, and then we just put our money in it, fix it up, bring it to the level where it's like the current standard of the market, like kitchen, countertop, bathroom, the paint, basically give it a whole lift, and put it back in the market and sell it, and hopefully make some money.
Yeah. Well, fingers crossed on that last rental property that you were mentioning. And I guess jumping a little bit into the background that you shared, and thank you for sharing the background and how you got started. So again, just to clarify, you mentioned that you first had started off as an investor, as a kind of more of a property owner, somebody that would maximize equity through properties that you decided to purchase. And then more recently, now you decided to actually transition into working with clients as well. Is that right?
Definitely. About 5 years ago, I got my license, and I started acting as a realtor, helping others as well.
Great. And so with that being said, what kinds of prospects do you usually focus on working with?
Honestly, that's a great question. But what I think is, as I always said in all my presence, that no deal is small or big for us. We've done $1 million deals. We've done a condo that was like 100,000. So at the end of the day, they take the same paperwork and the same process. Matter of fact, the higher end deal, they take less work because there's not that many people playing in that area. So let's say if I'm listing your home, and your home is, let's say, $2 million home, I might get 2 offers on it, if we're lucky. But when we're dealing with $200,000 or $300,000 range, you get 20 offers in this market. So now I gotta go over each one of those offers with you as a seller, and then get your response, go back to the buyer's agent, and basically tell them, okay, my seller decided whether to accept or counter or reject your offer. It's just more work. But at the end of the day, uh, pretty much the process is all the same. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Hmm. Fantastic. Yeah, and I mean, like you just mentioned, it's great that you don't think, or rather, that you have that perspective to say there's no deal that's too small, there's no deal that's too big, because sometimes we will encounter those agents that they say, well, I have my preferred range, and it's usually a little bit in the higher ranges, and I guess that might be why, as you mentioned, if it's sometimes not as complicated to represent buyers or sellers at that price point. And so, thank you for sharing that background. I guess something else that I wanted to ask you in the first place is, when you got into real estate, how long did it take you to be able to generate or have a consistent transaction rate? Because I know that that's something that some real estate agents can struggle with when they're first starting out.
Exactly. Another great question. Thank you for brought it up. I do believe, because I've done many different businesses in my life. I own a pizza shop before. I own 2 hair salons before. I own an insurance agency currently, and also I'm a realtor. So I've done different businesses in the past. But one thing I can tell you they all have in common, especially when you're trying to build it from scratch, from ground up, you got to understand the first year is where you either make it or you're going to break. Okay, so
Yeah.
or it's gonna break you. Yeah, that first year is very important. Planting the seeds. In the long term, it looked like farming, planting the seed, watering it, putting the proper fertilization, making sure that no animals come to take the seed off the ground and eat them. Right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Hopefully, if the weather help and every different thing help, finally you get the product of your seed that you put in the ground. So this is a kind of business that the first year, in some case, depends. For me, I came to Vegas back in 2006, and and it took me a long way to basically get myself to the point where I have I basically get to know new people, make new friends. So I know them, they know me, and now I can start with my sphere of influence, people around me. So at least let them know what I do now, and that takes time. You just got to be patient. When you come into a business like this, that if you don't have any deals in escrow, you're not going to make any money because there's nobody to pay you salary or hourly. You just got to understand it's all about your hustle and how well you can market yourself. It's so important.
Yeah, no, that's incredibly well put. I mean, especially as you just mentioned, having to be about the hustle because, like you mentioned, right, having your sphere of influence and developing and cultivating a large enough pool of people that you know to the point where they are regularly transacting and having enough transactions to support you throughout the course of a year, that's something that can take a while. Now, that's something that I've also encountered with certain agents that we've spoken with, that it can be a little bit difficult to feel comfortable marketing to your sphere of influence. Do you ever encounter concerns like that where you think maybe I shouldn't share with people what I'm doing right now?
I always say, because I formed a team for a little while and I told all my agent in my team as well, you're not secret agent. You're a real estate agent. People need to know you're a realtor. Don't be angry at your neighbor next door or in front of your house if they list the house with someone else. Be angry at yourself that you didn't let them know you're a realtor living in their neighborhood. Right?
That's amazing. Yeah, exactly.
If you cannot market yourself and let the world know what you do, if it's up to me and it doesn't look weird, every day I will wear a T-shirt that says, "Hey, I sell real estate." You know, that's how you market, like to the extreme. But it just sometimes you just got to be a little cautious, tune it a little down.
Yeah.
I wrapped my car, for example, and it cost me about $4,500 to do the whole wrap, but it came out beautiful, and it's a big SUV. And when it came out, everyone like, oh my God, this is so flashy. I'm like, okay, that's the whole point. Like now, I got so far, I did it beginning of this year. Like I think it was like January, I did it, and so far I got 3 deals, and each deal I made about 7 to 10,000. So that $4,500 that I spent was paid in first deal. The rest is the extra cream.
Yeah. And I mean, it's amazing what having that unorthodox, or I guess it's not unorthodox, right? But it's something that a lot of real estate agents and real estate specific people don't necessarily think about. I mean, it's something that I've seen with successful agents, people that, they want to get their word out. They are very excited about what they're able to do for other people. And I think that's kind of what the difference is, honestly, is the fact that you realize I'm helping people. I'm giving them information. I'm getting them to a place or to their next property. And sometimes, I mean, I guess it is a pride thing, right? Knowing that I'm the best person to do it. I'm the best real estate agent to do it. If they go with someone else, they might not get as great results. Would you say that that's kind of the perspective that you have?
Pretty much. What I think is, it is right. If you want to be successful in any business, doesn't matter what kind of business you offer, right? To begin with, yes, the more you know about that business, the more expert you are, the more help you can bring to the table. But on the other hand, we all, as a small business owner, we need to master the game of advertising, because if people don't know who you are and what you offer, it really doesn't. It really defeating the purpose of how much you know. Because if people don't know you and your business and how to find you, then your expertise never going to come to the table to help anyone, right? So I firmly believe that in order for us to be successful, you need to know your proper advertising game and how to be present, whether digitally or in ground or however is your. I do it all. I do door knocking. We hold open houses when the market needs, and then every property that I put in a market for sale, I door knock the whole neighborhood. I print out. Depends on the neighborhood, maybe from 250 to 500 flyers about that property that we just listed. I let the neighborhood know. And usually I get at least 1 or 2 listings after that. Why?
Wow.
Because I did the work. I did what it takes to let them know, basically, what are we doing for your neighbor? Maybe we can do the same thing for you. A lot of realtors, I'm not critiquing them, but I see that they are not putting what it takes, and then they're complaining about the industry. The industry is solid industry. Just you need to do what it takes. It's hard work to be successful.
Exactly. Yeah. It's something that I've heard said at least once or twice, right? Everybody knows what you should do, but not everybody does it. And that's why there's that opportunity. That's where people can get a reputation. And I mean, like you were saying, that's why you're successful in so many different businesses, because you realize to an extent it is a business, right? Not to say that it's as transactional as a hair salon or a pizza shop, right? It is people's hopes and dreams in their lives that you're helping them with, right? But at the same time, like you mentioned, you need to make sure that they're aware of your presence to begin with. Otherwise, it's like being a boxer that never gets in the ring, right? You're training and you're prepping, but you don't actually get to fight in front of anybody because you're not doing that next step to get your name out there. Now, I mean, keeping on that same topic of the successes and the insight that you've been able to gain from other industries, what else, and again, not for the sake of critiquing, but what else do you think that a lot of real estate agents aren't comfortable doing that they should be doing? outside of, like we mentioned, this marketing to your sphere of influence, getting a little bit creative, like wrapping your car and things along those lines, what other aspects or avenues do you think people, real estate agents specifically, don't really think about?
I guess right off top of my mind, I can tell you there's two main things that pretty much everyone know that it can give you a result eventually, but they just don't do. One of them is calling, right? We have a lot of leads from different avenues that you can get. Having all those leads not going to make you money. You need to be in front of them. You need to talk to them. You need to tell them what can you do for them. Then the other 50% is them deciding whether they want to work with you or not. But at least you do your 50% at 120%. And then you basically wait to see if they're going to actually do business with you. Calling and being on the phone, a lot of people are, I guess, not comfortable. Then I'm thinking, okay, if you're not comfortable on the phone, how about in person, right? So now in person, how you be in front of someone that never know you, right? Before. Door knocking, right? A lot of people not putting the time. Sometimes people even laugh at me. Oh, door knocking? Have you done door knocking? Like, yes. Yes, I do. And guess what? I'm closing 10 to 15 deals a month, and you're probably closing 2 deals. Well, who's going to laugh at who now? I know what it gets result because now I'm in front of people directly talking to them with facts about that neighborhood, telling them, hey, this person that we just put their home for sale, let's say bought it back in 2016 for, let's say 250,000. Now we're selling it at 400,000. We're helping them unlocking that $150,000 equity and putting as a bigger down payment in other better, bigger property in a better neighborhood probably. And it would trigger them like, oh, I didn't know. Oh, that's a good point. Like, but if I wouldn't be in front of people, I couldn't talk to them. I couldn't tell them what can we do for them, you know?
No.
But hey, it is what it is.
And I mean, again, that's where that opportunity comes in to be able to capitalize and exactly like you said, be doing 5 times the number of transactions because I mean, it sounds like at the same time you have very much a great understanding of yourself and what you bring to the table. That's something that we do like to discuss with our agents. What aspects do you delegate or do you do everything still? I mean, are you on the phones and are you doing the marketing or, you know, at this point, now that you've been able to build yourself up, what things do you get off your plate and, you know, kind of move on to someone else, say an assistant, an ISA, just another team member? I mean, what kinds of, again, tasks are you able to pass along now?
Yeah, that is another great question. Reason why is I come across this, if not on a daily basis, at least on a weekly basis, a couple times. Trying to get a hold of some of the agents and they don't even answer their phone. You text them, you call them, you get no response. And here you have a buyer that want to buy that property, but you need some more information from the, let's say, seller's agent, right? Because I work with both ends, sellers and buyers, right? The problem we have in many cases is when you're trying to reach out to people that don't even answer. And reason why is either they're too busy, right? They're out there showing homes, they're with their client, and they feel like it's rude to answer a phone call when they're with the client. Then if you're too busy, this is a sign you need someone to help you, like an assistant. Otherwise, you're gonna lose opportunity, you know? Like one thing about me, I'm not as scared of spending money when it comes to things that can open up and it takes time and I guess business experience, business mindset and business experience that, hey, yes, I might lose chunk of my commission because I have an assistant that I got to pay, whatever, if they're straight up salary or commission or whatever the case is, right? But having that assistant and training them and have them doing certain things for me, that will free me up to do more volume. And also, if people need to talk to me, most likely I can answer them now because now the other stuff is done through my assistant, right?
Exactly.
Um, and that's, I guess, one of the things people need to, especially when you start getting busy, like to the point where you feel like you can't answer phone calls. That's a sign you gotta get assistant. I mean, no, I can bet you, no heavy hitter in this industry is doing it all by himself. No way. Like even Superman can handle it because each deal has its own curveball and ups and downs and things that needs to be handled and you know, coordination and all that. I mean, there's just so much going on. If you're gonna do volume, you do need someone to assist you. You know.
Exactly. Incredibly well put, Mehrooz. I mean, fantastic answer. Now, we are getting close to the end of our time together, but something that I think I would really love to ask you, that I think that you'd be able to, share with a lot of our real estate agents and other viewers and listeners that may be tuning in. Now, you mentioned the importance of a network, both, a sphere of influence, but something that I want to dive into a little bit more is the professional network. Because, I mean, especially when it comes to, say, home renovations and things along those lines, these are circumstances that you might encounter, those curveballs that you were just mentioning that come with the deal. And so how are you able to find the right inspector, the right contractors, the right stagers to partner with long term instead of working with people one by one on just one-off projects?
Yeah. Again, I gotta tell you, in the beginning, it's always the hard part, right? Just like when you go to gym, the first week or month, you're gonna be sore. At that point, you either break through that time or you give up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if people stay hard and they break through it, then they can make it, right? And a lot of people they just give up. I'm like, oh my God, it's too much. I'm hurt. I have a muscle spasm or whatever, you know. Can't handle it. Same thing when it comes to business. In the beginning, of course, it's going to be harder, and it takes time to build that solid team that you can rely on. Because first of all, nobody know you. You're just entering the game, and also on the other hand, um, you might come across good people and bad people. You just need to test them and drive them and see which one is good. But always good to reach out to other people and say, ask them like, who did this work for you? Like for example, if I know that, um, for example, I'm showing homes to this one client, and a couple of homes are, let's say, from 1992, but it's
Mm-hmm.
fully upgraded just recently, right? And I see in the history whether the original owner renovated to sell or someone bought it like 2 months ago and then they renovated. Now they're going to sell it for profit. Going back to that whole flipping, I call the agent like, do you know who did this renovation? And then they can probably, pair you up with their contractor or handyman or whoever they use to do, let's say, the flooring or the paint or stuff. And it just, in time, you gather that whole proper team that you feel more comfortable with their work and relying on their word that they're going to give this job back to you within, let's say, the time limit that you want it back.
Exactly. Now, I mean, Mehrooz, thank you so much for joining us today. If I could ask you just one last quick question. Ultimately, it sounds like a lot of what we're discussing and a lot of the strengths and the ability that you bring boils down to communication. Having the ability to sincerely talk to somebody, whether it's the client, right, getting that information, which contractor did you work with previously, or whether it's the client themselves and getting them to share what is it that you're looking for that I can help you with. How would you recommend that other agents get to be as good at communicating as you are? Because again, I think that that's really what's setting you apart, honestly.
Of the game, but one thing I can tell you is, um, as an entrepreneur and someone that wants to grow in a business, I start following someone that is already kind of like idol, like Warren Buffett, for example, one of the greatest man still alive. He killed it. He's mainly in real estate too. Yes, he started as a stockbroker or whatever, but right now, biggest part of his wealth is coming from real estate. So I remember he mentioned once that if he wants to advise any young kid to master one ability so good, is communication. He said once you know how to communicate properly, you get a lot of things done very easier. And I took that to heart. I'm like, I told my assistant too, like, I want this town. I mean, technically, we're in three different cities, right? Henderson, Las Vegas, and North Las Vegas. We call it Greater Las Vegas area, right? But uh, even though there's like, I don't know, 20,000 agents in this town probably, but it's still a small circle because what goes around comes around, right? So if I have a good experience with this one agent, whether I'm in a listing side or selling side, I remember that next time if I'm trying to send the offer to that person, or I'm a listing agent and this person sending me an offer, I know that what kind of experience, like, people remember you. And eventually you create that kind of like a reputation for yourself. Like, we know already, me and a couple of other agents that we talk a lot on a weekly basis or daily basis, we know certain agents are not responsive. Again, this guy, I gotta talk. Good luck getting a hold of him. We know. Like, same thing. Well, I want in our end, when people having any sort of communication, whether they are our client or the title company that we work with to close the transaction, or the other party agent, I want to have as clear as it can when it comes to our communication, so they enjoy the whole transaction from A to Z, from the day we went on the contract until the closing. Everything is communicated, and we are staying on top of the stuff, so we are alert of where we are and what needs to be done. Versus like not getting hold of me, or I'm not responding to them. That just not us.
Amazing. I mean, well said. Thank you so much, Mehrooz, for having joined us today. I mean, you are just a fountain of wisdom, honestly. And I think that this one episode definitely isn't long enough. Unfortunately, we are at the end of our time today. But I would love to be able to invite you back, ideally at some point in the near future. For everybody watching and listening at home, thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode of Meet the Agent. Again, joining us today was Mehrooz Misaghian, servicing the greater Las Vegas area, covering Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, and the Henderson area. And I would say definitely don't hesitate to reach out to him if you do have any home needs in the Vegas market. Thank you so much, and we hope to see you on the next episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.